that there are also current trade issues, and they believe that they should and they pledge to achieve strong, sustainable, balanced, and inclusive growth. They want to safeguard against downside risks by stepping up actions to enhance confidence. Monetary policy will continue to support economic activity and ensure price stability. Okay, and the whole theme throughout this declaration, if you'll read it, is stability, and not just, stability, but stability with who and how they want it to be. Okay, I believe in, true society, capitalist society, right? So, when there's a bubble, it needs to burst. And if we're going to ensure, perfect stability, that's not real capitalistic society. And, there needs to be some ups and downs, and there needs to be some corrections that aren't really manipulated to, as much as they do, for things to actually fix themselves. I mean, they want to monitor and basically drive handle the direction and the means of the growth and the economies, and that is not free society. That is not capitalistic society. That is fascism, and that's a very dangerous path. And so, that's the theme throughout this whole thing, and there is some things in this that I would, that could be considered good, and that sound really cool, but, the way they talk about stability and sustains, the growth, it just makes me think that they want to control every little bit and basically control who gets the growth and who doesn't get the growth. Because right now, in my opinion, Trump is giving growth to places where it's not necessarily what they want. The Federal Reserve has really stepped up their interest rates, I think, to calm down what Trump is doing, because it's getting hot and they're trying to put out the heat a little bit. But let's continue off. So basically, that's what I'm getting out of 4. They want to put in buffers where needed. They want to ensure public debt is on a sustainable path, whatever that means. They want to continue the implementation of structural reforms so they can enhance growth potential. They reaffirm the exchange rate commitments made by the finance ministers and the central bank governors last March. Okay, so they renew commitment to improve rules-based international order that is capable of effectively responding to a rapidly changing world. So they want to be able to rapidly respond and change things at a whim when things are building up. So they want to have more control is basically what they're saying. Transformative technologies are expected to bring immense economic opportunities. This is awesome. This part of it, number 6, is where I was getting very excited because, there could be some things happening here that could be for the better. I mean, we all want these 60,000 indictments, if you'll see one of my previous videos, to come out and be really, to get this deep state arrested and the swamp drained. So there's other things we want to happen, like we want these futuristic technologies to come out because they're going to be amazing for society. But, I've been told the reason why they don't want this stuff to come out yet is because the transition would be so difficult to manage that it would just be complete chaos. That's why they haven't done it yet. Supposedly, they should have done it a long time ago. But anyway, so that's what number 6 is about. This stuff is expected to come out, and it's expected to bring better jobs at higher living standards. The transition, however, will create challenges for individuals, businesses, and governments, especially governments. So they have responsibilities to have international cooperation that will ensure the benefits of this technological transformation, and that it will also be widely shared. So that, to me, they want to be able to control the way this stuff comes out and make sure they can harness it and make sure their guys are the ones that are making the money still off of this. So it can be sustainable, so they can harness this this technology and the strengthen the growth and the productivity in the way they want to, and they're saying it right here. They also want to secure sustainable tax systems because, as this new technology is going to come out, there's going to be a whole new way of making money and all this stuff that can be kind of in a black market, and they want to be able to make sure they can get their tax money off of that. Okay, so number 7. They remain committed to building an inclusive, fair, and sustainable future of work by promoting decent work, vocational training, skills and development, reskilling workers, improving labor conditions in all forms of employment. They recognize the importance of social dialogue in this area, so they know they got to put their propaganda out. They include work on delivering digital platforms with a focus of promoting labor formalization. So as these digital platforms are coming out, they got to make sure they can make these systems formal and structured. So they will continue to foster a cognitive, digital, and entrepreneurship skills and encourage the underrepresented as well as the vulnerable groups. So they want to help minorities and such. So they want to eradicate. Now this part's cool as well. We will take actions to eradicate child labor, forced labor, human trafficking, and modern slavery in the world of work. Okay, including fostering sustainable supply chains. That I think has to do with these 60,000 indictments about to come out. I think that's part of what they're talking about. So this sounds cool. I don't know. I don't know what to think about that. But again, they want to make sure they have these innovative financial mechanisms and partnerships in place so they can be inclusive in this sustainable growth as it comes out. And that's what I take out of number 7 of this declaration. Okay, so number 8, infrastructure. So they're talking about infrastructure here. It's a key driver of economic prosperity, sustainable development, and inclusive growth. So they want to make sure and get their little, take of the infrastructure. And that's going to be a big part of this. They want greater contractual standardization, and they want to address data gaps to improve the risk mitigation instruments. I have no idea what that means. I just don't. But it sounded like it was important. Building on the G20 food security and nutrition framework. So this is something they've put in place before, and basically they want to reaffirm that commitment, tackling the challenges of food security, which to me I don't know. If they want to do that, and if that's what they really mean, that's great. They want to achieve a world free of hunger. That is amazing. They want to achieve they want to get rid of all forms of malnutrition. That is amazing. Well, if we need to do that, we need to get rid of GMOs, because in spite of what they tell you, it is bad. And I have a lot of experience farming, and we'll get into that later on. I have lots of pictures and videos. That's a whole nother channel I probably want to put out on that stuff. But take it from me, GMO is bad. So until we get rid of that, this isn't going to happen. But hopefully that's part of what they want to do, because I believe there are good people coming out of the woodwork finally trying to do good things. And there's going to be a civil war, and there already is one of an informational war currently. And if you're listening to this channel, just like Alex Jones says, you are the resistance. So, okay, so number 11 is the G20 Food Security and Nutrition Framework. They want to highlight the importance of collaboration among public and private stakeholders to strengthen risk management, protect biodiversity, effective responses to reduce the impacts of extreme weather on agriculture. I'm going to be doing some videos on the Grand Solar Minimum. If you have not heard of the Grand Solar Minimum, I implore you to look it up. We are going into a Grand Solar Minimum, and I will get into that on this channel later on. I have so much I want to get into. My videos are kind of long, so it takes me forever. But yes, basically, this is going to be needed. We will have to have some way of responding to this extreme weather that's going to be happening because of the grand solar minimum. Not only will it be overall cooler, unlike they say here further on in the declaration, they talk about global warming, but it actually is going to get cooler, and there's going to be greater extremes. It's going to be cooler, colder. It's going to get much colder when it's cooler and much hotter when it's hotter. So it's going to be more extremes than if anything else, if nothing else. And so this is going to be important. I think they're realizing now that the grand solar minimum is happening, if they haven't known for a long time, which most likely they have. And now we've got to do something with agriculture to ensure our food safety. That's my take on that. So number 12, gender equality is crucial for economic growth. Now, this could be good here. They're talking about how, there's gender inequality in the workplace. My wife knows a lot about this. She says it has to do with, sometimes they take time off for having children, and that may throw off the numbers. But overall, they want to help with gender equality, and that's cool. So then number 13 is mobilizing sustainable finance. I don't know so much about this sustainable finance census report of 2018 and the findings of it, but basically the policy recommendations to facilitate digital financial services. So, apparently this has to do, they want to outline a process to streamline its work program and structure. The Global Partnership for Financial Inclusion Roadmap. I don't know anything about this stuff. I have to move on about it. I don't want to talk about it if I don't know anything about it. So then 14, we launched the G20 Initiative for Early Childhood Development. Let's see, and stand ready to join all stakeholders in enhancing quality and sustainability financed early childhood programs that consider the multi-dimensional approach of ECD as a means of building human capital to break the cycle of intergenerational structural poverty and of reducing inequality, especially where young children are most vulnerable. This has to do with, I guess, the child trafficking and children in the workplace. They shouldn't be there. Not unless, they live on a farm and they're just helping out, and, in the evening times or on the weekends, learning how to take over the farm when they get older. Stuff like that, But they shouldn't actually have a job. That's slavery. That's children should not be working like that. Okay, so they encourage the activities of the World Health Organization. Some of that stuff scares me. The whole tactile malnutrition thing is awesome, with childhood overweight and obesity is awesome, but I don't believe in the healthcare system, and it's not working for us. That's some of the stuff they address here, but that's my take on that. So, large movements, number 16, I'm going to skip. 17, large movements of refugees are of global concern with humanitarian, political, social, and economic consequences. We emphasize the importance of shared actions to address the root causes of displacement and to respond to growing humanitarian needs. There's a border problem, and that's what they're saying here. And something is going to have to happen, and something has to change, because this is not normal. This is not how things used to be. There didn't used to be. If you're talking about early, immigrants, immigrants were quarantined. There was a lot of just awful things that happened back then too, and obviously no better now. But there's an invasion happening in a lot of countries all over the world, and we've got to get this under control. Number 18, we affirm our commitment to leading transformation towards a sustainable development and support the 2030 agenda as a framework for advancing this goal and the G20 action plan. This is not good. This is what I was talking about earlier. Look up the Agenda 2030. It is complicated. They are definitely activating your local board members, of your town. It happened in the town that I lived in. They start implementing it at a local level, and that's how it starts. It is scary. They have a lot of money about it, and they want to put you in a little tiny box in a big city. Continued in video 3.